Hi there. Welcome to the ranch. We are going to make some sauerkraut today, fermented sauerkraut. And besides the many benefits that sauerkraut brings, fermented foods bring to your body, it is a really nice way to preserve your vegetables without heating up your kitchen in the summer. So I want to just show you, I've tried a lot of different ways of doing this, and this one is a really easy recipe. Okay, I've got most of the cabbage sliced, and like I said, if you're doing a lot of it, I use a food processor or the grating attachment on my KitchenAid mixer. And I'm just going to add some rainbow carrots. I grated up. Actually, my daughter did it for me. I'm going to season it now, and you really just season it to your taste. It doesn't have to have a certain amount of salt, and some people like it a lot lighter and some like a little more salt in it, but I've done both ways and it turns out great either way. I usually do a couple tablespoons in this much. But just taste it and see. I'm just going to use my knife. Then I'm going to put a little bit of black pepper in and powdered garlic. I've used fresh garlic too, which is really nice. And I like to put quite a bit of cayenne pepper because our family likes our sauerkraut really spicy. So you're going to see a lot here, but you definitely don't have to do this amount. The seasonings are, as I said, to your taste. So I'm going to be handling this a lot, so I'm going to put on some gloves. But this is a really important step in this, which is time-saving for this recipe. And that is, we're just going to squeeze this and get the juices coming out of this cabbage. So you're going to stir it up. And of course, at this point, you can taste it also. But just start squeezing it and mashing it. It's kind of like you're kneading bread or whatever. And it'll take a little bit, but you're going to see it starts bringing out some juices after a while. And I will actually also take this tamper sometimes to really squeeze, because once you start getting the juices coming out, the rest of it seems to follow. As you can see, it's starting to wilt a little bit, and that's what we want, because the more we work it here and the more the juice is brought out and wilt it, it's going to fit and not break down in the jar then. Because a lot of problems with making it directly in the jar is that people have trouble with it breaking down as it ferments and getting lower in the jar, and that leaves more room for oxygen and molding and that sort of thing. So this just helps it break down first, which is so nice, and the salt is working in it too to help that happen. So the next thing we're going to do is put it in our jar. We're ready now to put this in our jar, and you can use a regular canning jar with just a regular lid and ring. That works fine. I use that all the time, but I just happen to have a weck jar, which works pretty good too. I'm going to get it all dirty here, and I'm going to pack it in. And this part is pretty critical, just so that you don't have to mess with it again. It goes from here and it stores on your shelf, whether in your fridge or your cold cellar, and you don't have to mess with it till you're ready to eat it. So I just pack in there as much as I can, and I'm making a big mess here. And you're just going to clean these off. This is going to get messy while it starts to ferment too. So I am going to take my tamper, and just anything like this works really well. And what you want to do is just smash it more into the jar until you start getting the juice coming up the top. I think you can probably see that juice working up, and I'm also making more room in my jar. So I'm going to add more. And I will fill a bunch of jars this way. And you don't want to screw on your lid, your ring tight, if you're using a regular mason jar and ring. But you want to get this pretty full. You can leave a little room at the top and just mash it in there. That juice is not going to stay at the top, but that just tells me that I have it broke down enough. And as I said, it kind of makes a mess while you're doing this. So that is about right, and it's very juicy. I'm not going to have to add any water or anything to that. So what I'm going to do next is take my gasket and put it on there. Everything's packed in my jar now, as you can see, and I've got the lid on, and these just clamp down on the sides. But as it ferments, it's going to let juice, it's going to bubble up, and it's going to come out and run and just make a mess on here. So I always stick it on a cookie sheet or something like that, and I put it in the warmest room in my house. So you're going to leave it on that cookie sheet in the warm room for 3 or 4 days, depending on how warm it is. If it's really cool in your house, it might take 4 days, and you want it just to look like it's starting to work. It might have a little water running down, but it's going to start that fermentation process. And then you take, and I just really clean all my jars off very good, and you're done. It goes into the cold cellar, and it's ready in about 3 weeks. Or if you want to put it in your fridge, same thing. It takes about 3 weeks before it's ready to eat. It's safe to eat anytime, but the best flavor happens then, and the most bacteria cultures have multiplied the best then, the good bacteria. So there it is, and it's really beautiful, and I hope you enjoy it.